everybody. It is Kate Richburg, and welcome to Beadshop Live. It is Wednesday, August 5th. Can you believe it? The 5th of August already. And we are in the heat for sure here in the Central Valley of California. It's warm. I'll tell you what, right? It's warm. But we are good. I hope you guys are good. Oh, thanks. You guys like the new countdown. I did a new it was time to switch it up. I think we've had that one for like 2 years. And I'm like, yeah, it's time. Let me see the loomed bracelet, Sarah, I think is this one. If I can get it off the wall right here. I think it's one of these, which was I'll put it down here so you can kind of see it, the inspiration for all of our loomed goodness we've been doing lately. And thank you for that. This brooch, I did this on some Saturday stitch-ins. I'll put this one under the camera as well. In the fall, the stitch-ins will come back in the fall, for sure. So you folks will be seeing that. We also have, there we go. Let me show you folks this. Here we go. This, I think, is the loomed bracelet. This is under Tricks to Looming. That pebbling. And Janice did this one. The Tricks to Looming handout, the handout for this is really, really great. And then here's the brooch. I did this on some felt. We have these nice pin backs here. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. This was a mix, I think, that I did around Valentine's Day or something like that. I don't know. But we have a special guest here in studio this week. Our buddy Sarah Little is here. Sarah, do you want to say hi to people?
Hello, people.
There she is. She's over there in the corner. I couldn't have gotten things done. Do you want to come over here and say hi?
Hi.
Come say hi. Here we are. Here's our buddy Sarah. There she is, our Sarah Little. Thank you so much for everything. She's doing so much this week. You know Sarah from the chat. You know Sarah from her wonderful designs, Little Earth. Is that correct?
Yes.
And they can find you on Insta, can't they?
Oh, probably.
Okay, we'll find it. We'll drop it in the chat. She's doing some really great samples and stuff. You see our Sarah. She's helping us this week. We couldn't do it without her. And thankfully she did. She's here. That's why the sample is almost done. So we're going to talk about this sample. We're going to talk about Miranda's mix, which I have here to share with you, which already sold out. Sue says hello to you, Sarah. Sue, I loved all of your beautiful loomed pieces that you posted over on the bead table. Thanks for that, for doing that. You can see these are waiting for when I revisit these, but we're going to talk about this bracelet today. So first, I want to share with you, let me see if I can make this happen here. Here is let me see. There I am. Let me put this one in, maybe. Add that. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. This is the mix, and it's Miranda's birthday month this month. Her actual birthday's on the 15th. The 15th. But so she always loves to do the monthly mix on her birthday month. So this was an artist that Miranda chose, right, Miranda?
That's right.
One of your faves. And she's a California-based artist, which is cool. And I'm gonna let me see if I can put that up there. Let me see. Here is the the bracelet and the mix from it. What I also wanted to show you folks was, let me see if I can get this one, if I can switch this from, change this picture up. I'm going to delete that, whoops, cancel. Let me do this, let me put this one over there, hang on. Maybe add scene, no. Why can't I add this? This technology, why is technology? Maybe I can do it. No, no, hang on. There we go. Let me see. There we go. All right. I think I can do this. Maybe. If I can't get this on there, I'm just going to... There it is. Okay. God. Clicking every button. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. It also glows in black light. Emily found this, right? Found out. Emily, how did you figure out that it glowed in black light? Do you just carry a black light with you?
It just looked like it would.
Yeah, right.
And so I brought one from home.
Oh, well, there you go. So she took the beads by the reins and said, "This looks like it will glow." So she did. She brought her black light, and she was like, "Look, you guys." So it's pretty cool. So yeah, we love it. It is sold out. It's sold out fast. We do have it up to see if you know, that maybe we'll make, I don't know, I can't promise though. Janice and I talked about it, but put yourself on the waiting list in case, if there are enough people who want it, we can get it. We'll get it back, but enough people have to commit. So anyway, put your name down if you want to restock. We'll keep you updated. But they're really fun, and I think that some of these drops, because this is an all drop mix, I think that we should add some of these drops to our drop collection, if nothing else, right? So yeah, so we'll see. So this is the project that I did with it, and you can see I called it, I'm going to go to the home page. I called it Surreal Obsidian because the artist, let me jump back, the artist that Miranda chose, her name is Camille Rose Garcia, and she is a pop surrealist. And I was looking at all of her pieces, I was looking at her work, and frankly, when I was making the sample, when I was thinking about the sample, what I wasn't quite sure how I was going to approach it, right? I was like, well, how do I want to put this together? How do, you know, what do I want to make? I knew I wanted to make a wrap bracelet, but that's all I knew. Okay, so I started by dumping out the mix first and foremost. So let me do that. And the mix, it's all Miyuki Drops, and there are 10 different drops, right? Which at the time I was like, oh my God, that's so many drops. But while I was working on it, I was like, oh, I'm glad I have this many colors. So I started to sort them, I guess is the right word. So what I did was, some of them are clear like this and crystal lined. And when in doubt, when I don't know how to approach something, a bunch of beads that I might have sitting around, I'll start to sort them in color order. So that's what I did. And you can see I'm kind of doing this kind of quickly here. I just want to get some of them together. Okay, let me put this on full right there so you can see this. And then when I was doing this, it started to give me some ideas about color. And Janice's wrap that she did with last month's monthly mix, the Michelle wrap, that really kind of inspired me. And the way that Janice did it was she just did kind of like a stream of consciousness with it, right? She just kind of went for it and laddered. And I thought, okay, that's the approach that I'm going to take with it. She also, in a ladder bracelet a while back, laddered with the drops, and we're going to talk about that. So those were kind of my two things that were in the forefront of my mind. The Michelle bracelet, where it was kind of like little sections of repeated motif and repeating different motifs throughout and just kind of letting it flow, as well as trying to figure out how I was going to make sense of all of these colors, because a lot of these colors, as you can see, though I love these hot colors and stuff, it's not always in my color palette. So I really honestly was like, what the heck am I going to do with this? Right? So let me see. Can I focus and get in closer? Let me see if I can. Maybe it's the background. Maybe it's the gray. Hang on. Let me switch this up. Maybe. Dunno. That might be better. I don't know what it is with the, I don't know. The lighting, nothing's different, but it could be grainy. Let's see. Hang on, everybody. Let me see. Let me see if I can fix this. Hold please while I do that. Let me see. Camo. Let me go to resolution. That might be better. Let me know. You know, things change, settings change like fast. Okay, that might be better. iPhone camera. Let me do this. Hang on. Let me see if I can get this a little lighter. Is that better? And let me see. Is that better? It's a little lighter. Is that too blown out? Let me turn that down. Hang on. I'm getting there. Let me go in a little tighter. Let me see if I can sharpen this. Is that better? That looks a little sharper to me. I think. Let's make it big. Better. Not that much better. Hang on. Take that down a little. And I'm actually gonna go out and go back. Okay. All right. Let's do that. Let's do this. Let's do this. I want you folks to be able to see. I'm going to check the camera lens. I wipe it every time, but let's see. I think it doesn't like this gray. Hang on. I'm going to get a paper. Okay. And I'm going to move this light back a little bit. Maybe it's a little hot. Nothing like adjusting on the fly, right, everybody? Okay. This might be a little bit better. Let's take a look and see. Okay. Well, regardless, this is what we're going. This is what we're going with. So let me get this back to here. Add this to the stage again. That looks a little bit clearer. And let's see. Yeah, a lot of us are the bead content creators. We all use StreamYard. So if one person is having an issue, then everyone else is having an issue too. So I don't know. Sometimes it all goes well, and then it all... There we go. That's probably okay. All right, well, let's get back to it. Sorry, everybody, for that little momentary adjustment. That looks good, I think. Okay, so back to our regularly scheduled content before we had those camera issues. So I did just like I was doing here, and I started to sort everything. And I started to play around with and looking at the color of what, of kind of where I was going to go with it. So after I did my color order here, I went to the drawing board and I pulled out the beads that I thought I wanted to use color-wise. I knew I wanted to ground this with some black. So I pulled an 11-aught seed bead. The 11-aught is the 11-401. You could also use it in a matte, but I went for shiny. Okay, like this. Because in this mix right here, the little black beads kind of popped out at me. And in her painting, in Camille's painting, we did, you can see she's got a lot of that black in it right there. So I wanted the background, it needed something grounding. So that's what I went for, was that black. Okay. So there were the black seed beads. I did that. Okay. Then I wanted a pop of this green, this kind of chartreusey kind of green. So I went with the 11-258, that chartreuse AB. So I grabbed that one, and I knew I wanted to use 11-aughts. Okay, so that's what I was going with. Okay. And then, and Carolyn, these aren't glow in the dark, but they glow under black light. They luminesce. So, but yeah, these colors really look really cool. They are UV reacted. They don't glow. Then I wanted a bugle. So I used the metallic dark raspberry. It's the BGL one. It's the 3mm. So I grabbed that one. And then I grabbed 2 quarter Tilas, the opaque turquoise AB, and the teal AB. I did those. Okay. Then the last thing I thought, well, I had quarter Tilas, so I wanted to add a half Tila. So I used the smoky amethyst AB. And that was everything I used. Okay. So then I thought, well, I want to do some patterning, not unlike the Michelle wrap that Janice did. And I just jumped in. Let me grab the wrap. Where did it go? Let me get it. Here was the very beginning, right here. Let me get in a little tighter. Yeah, the camera's a little bit better now, I think. And I just went with something that was familiar. And I wanted these blocks with the Tilas, so I started here. I didn't even start with the drops right away. I was like, okay, I'm going to jump in. I put on my button. I macrameed down. I tapered up from 1, 2 to 3 seed beads, 11-aught seed beads. And then I started patterning like the little building blocks, like the quilt blocks, like we did in the Michelle wrap. Okay? I'm looking around for the Michelle wrap, but I don't see her. I may have worn her inside. I don't know. But you folks can see it. Let me see if I have her right here. Well, you can see the link. She's up on the website. You can reference her. I also, since the painting felt like it had a lot of texture and a lot of depth, I also wanted to start to incorporate that into some more texture. So after I did just a little bit of this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these little squares, I started to ladder with the #1 bugles, the 3mm bugles, and 1 11-aught on each side. And I thought that these little bars, you can kind of see it on the back, they looked good. So I did 6 of those. I did 6 of these blocks, and then I did 6 of those. Okay. Then I started to ladder with the drops. And in this project that Janice did a while back, she did laddering with the drops. You can see here, she did them 3 across, and she just laddered the drop after drop after drop right there. Okay, like this. I wanted to kind of see if I could get things to like lay have a little more space in between. So I started to experiment with my layout, and I'm going to show you how I did these. But essentially what I did, and you can see I'll turn it on the back. After I finished my 6 rows of the bugle and the 11-aught, I put 1 row of 4 of the 10-aughts there, or of the 11-aughts there. Then I did 1 whole row, 1, 2, 3, of the drops. Then I did another row of 11s and a row of drops. And so they kind of went back and forth. This base of these 11-aughts kind of gave these drops a place to sit. Okay? And then I just reversed the pattern. Janice does this a lot, and I think it's really a good kind of way to kind of play around with it. Reversing the pattern, and this was my first section. This is a 4 wrap here. Then I wanted to continue with the drops, and I looked at my ombre. I ombre'd the remaining drops. So I knew I'd used these 2, right? So I had used the purple and I had used the chartreuse, right? I looked at my remaining drops and I said, okay, all of these color lined ones kind of go. I don't want to throw the black ones in yet, so I tabled those. And I also tabled these clear that have this kind of AB color line. I thought that those kind of paired up nicely. So those were a pair, those were a pair, and then all of these I put into color order. And let me do that. I started with this, there's kind of like this orangey salmon color. So I started with those. Then I went to that pink color. Then I went to that purple color lined color. Which one is that? When you're really looking at them, they're kind of hard to tell apart. There it is. I went to these. Those right there. Then I went to these. Right? Then I went to these kind of mint ones. 1, 2. Oh, and these blue were in between. That's that purple. Those were in between there. I think that's how I lined them up. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I feel like I'm missing a color. Those are they. Those are they. That one. That one. Those purple. Yeah. Okay. So I did my color lined order. Okay. Like this. Then I thought, here it is. I wanted some space in between them. Okay, so like this one, you can see these right here. These are all bunched up. Okay, kind of like all bunched up together. These, I wanted the grounding of a little bit of black in between. So let me show you what I did. I did 6 more rows of plain, 2, 4, 6. I just got that number arbitrarily. And if we turn this around, can you see how, you can see how this lays out. For this first row, I put 1 11-aught in black, 1 drop, 1 11-aught, 1 drop, and I laddered that through. Then the second row, I offset it. So I started with a drop, then went to the 11-aught, the drop, and the 11-aught. And I kept offsetting back and forth, and I did 2 rows of each. So 2 rows of the mint, 2 rows of that blue, 2 rows with the purple, 2 rows of the light blue, 2 rows of that kind of clear and purple, and then kind of this clear pinky salmon. So that's what I did. And you can see here on the back, and the back really makes it look cool. And yeah, it is like a checkerboard. Look at how cool that looks. So this is the top. So you can see how different it looks, this layout. Okay. So then this was my next little motif that I did. I also thought this would make just a really great like single bracelet. Wouldn't that look just really good, just like that, right? Then I thought, well, I have another motif. I've got the Tilas that I need to use, right? And I have these really cool like oil slick kind of AB drops. So I started to do this. I did 6 more of the black 401s, and then I did halves. I went to 3, and I put a 1/4 Tila in the turquoise, and I put the drop, so you can see on the back, 1/4 Tila, drop, first hole of the 1/4 Tila, and then back through. Second hole of the 1/4 Tila, 1 more drop, and back through. Then to space it, I did another bar of the 11-aughts. And this is about where I stopped. And then Sarah showed up, thank God. So Sarah continued, we kind of talked about it, and we talked about where to repeat these motifs. So we had her repeat this motif right here. So then we had kind of like almost 2 wraps. So we repeated, this is like 1 long motif repeat there. Okay, so here's this motif repeat. Here is this motif repeat. Then we kind of had a little break in the action. We wanted to repeat those 6 kind of quilt block tiles, almost those tiles. And then I told Sarah, I'm like, kind of take some inspo, but kind of go out on your own. So Sarah repeated this motif to kind of bring it from the front to the middle, so it wouldn't be hanging out here all on its own. So see, that motif is repeated. Then she did this, which I love. This is all Sarah. I had nothing to do with this one. She raised the pattern, 3mm bugle, drop, 3mm bugle. See how cool that looks? And she didn't make it too long, so it's not flippy floppy. There's 5. There are 5 here. And then she repeated the motif with the Tilas, but instead of using a 3mm bugle, she used 2 of the 11-aughts. So making this section, and I'll show you, we're going to bead this together, making this section with the 1 bugle size 1, the 3mm on each side, and putting the drop in the middle raises it up. Okay. Then we had to get those black bugles in here. So you can see here's the second motif, or the third motif. It's a little bit longer, but from here, this is all a repeat. From here, the sticky uppy part here, a repeat, another sticky uppy, that same repeat, a last of that stick up one, and then we finished it with this motif. So this is just one long repeat here. Okay. And then to finish, we're just going to start it like we finished with these blocks of color of these guys here. And I'm gonna measure it and we're gonna finish it off. Okay. So let me show you how we achieved. Sarah, everyone is loving your motifs.
Yay.
Sarah, she did it, man. She was the architect of, I loved those little stand-up sections. This, it really, I mean, look at how, I don't know, we could maybe do this, maybe we could make a bead. There's a lot of cool stuff. Look at how cool this looks if you did it like this as an earring, brought everything up. I don't know. This has a lot of potential. I love how this looks. Right? Isn't that great? Yeah, this would also make a great hat band as well. Let me show you kind of how everything fits together, and then we're going to measure this and I'll finish this off. Okay, so let me switch boards. Let me go back to this gray board right here. Put this carefully to the side. It was really fun to kind of go out of the comfort zone of the color that I usually like to use, right? I think Miranda did a great choice on these colors. The artist, I think, was a really cool artist choice. It took us a little bit of a road to get to this, and Miranda was super patient, but it works out. Hey, Sarah, will you, I think I gave you all my clips.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Could I have, may I have them?
Did you look in your clip drawer?
I did, and all the clips in the clip drawer
What?
are like no more. Oh, look, here they all are. Thank you.
Oh,
So let me just get a little, I'm just going to put all of these over to the side. Do this. The leather I used is 1 millimeter. Okay. And I just grabbed a button. The button I used was the hammered round, but I also got this textured one here, this textured oval. And I macrameed, but I'm not going to macrame this. I'm just going to tie a knot underneath because I don't want to take up that time. But at the button, we just start with our macrame. Well, maybe I will so you folks can see it. Sometimes it's a little confusing. I'm going to do it with white though, so you can really see it, so it's not black KO on black leather. So let me do that. I'm not gonna cut a corner. Let's just do it. Let's do it right, right? Yeah, Miranda, everyone's loving this mix.
hooray.
I'm already working on the mix for September because that's my birthday month mix. I think you're gonna love it. I have a project planned. It's very French. No surprise, quelle surprise. It's gonna be a necklace project. And you will see. All will be revealed on September 1st. So here we go, right? And we used one nest of the 4-yard nest of the 1 millimeter. I thought the 1 millimeter really went well with the selection of the 11/0. Janice uses the 1 millimeter a lot more than I do in her lettering. And you can see this is the 1 millimeter here with some 11/0 and some 8/0. Sarah, how did you like working with the 1 millimeter?
I like it if you're only doing the 3 11/0 across.
Right.
Because if you've got it reduces the weight.
Yeah,
and it's the same height
right.
as the 11
As the 11
so it makes a real smooth,
Mm-hmm. A smooth transition.
like
Yeah,
the gold one.
right,
Saffron and
right.
yeah.
Like the gold.
No
So,
spoilers.
what? No spoiler. So, a little bit of a spoiler. I like that. So, what Sarah was saying is that the width of this 1 millimeter, it also is kind of the same width as that 11-aught bead. So it really makes it flow kind of nicely. And Whistling Duck is saying here she likes the 1 millimeter for the skinnier wrap bracelets. To me, it puts the focus on the beads. I agree. I really like it. I, I use the 1.5 a lot because I like sometimes to be a little bit chunky, right? But but working with this 1 millimeter with this, it really does bring the beads forward, and I like it. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I tried to match my nail polish with this too. I did this cat's eye because I knew we were going to be doing it, so we had. I'm trying to be mindful. Okay, so let me get some KO here, and just so you can see the KO. I'm just going to reel off a little bit here because this is just going to be a tester so you can see it. The needle I used was a Sharps, a size 10 Sharps. You can use a beading needle, whatever works for you. And then I'm going to needle that thread if I can. Like that, and bring it around. Now we did this with the Michelle wrap the way that we started this. We're going to use the infinity stitch. Bless you, Miranda. We're going to do this with the infinity stitch. So we're going to start this. I have the needle over here in my left hand and the KO tied, right? I have this double strand here, and I'm going to do my looping with the needle attached side. So I'm just going to start, bring my thread under the leather, around to make my loop to the left, the tail over the end, under the leather, and tighten. Okay, and bring that up. Now we'll reverse it. So I'm macrameing with this doubled thread. And what happens is it makes the top macrame nice and sturdy. You want to make sure though that you're pulling them evenly, and you're not pulling the needle through the loop, you're just pulling the side that has the ends through. And I macrameed down until it looked right. It was about five full square knots.
Yes.
Perfect. 5 full square knots. So I'll come around and I'll end so that my needle is to the left, because that's where I'm starting my ladder. Just like that. Okay, so now I'm going to use my KO to kind of keep my ladder portion, my leather portion open. And I'll use the chartreuse ones here because it'll be maybe a little bit easier to see these. But when we ladder to start, we'll start with just that one single 11-aught. Slide it. We bring our leather over this side. I'm sorry, our KO. Over the left side. Nestle our bead in there, bring it under the right side. I go back through, I dip it under the leather, and we've got our first stitch. Let me see if I can find my awl or something, or this pin. Here comes Sarah with the awl. We have enough awls here that we didn't have to share them, but I guess we did. So this is here. Okay. Now, usually what I do for my first stitch like this is I'll go back through it. But I don't think I actually need to right now. I think it'll be fine. Just like that. Okay. So the mix, what we're doing is Janice is ordering the beads so that you can order the beads individually. I don't know if that adds anything to it. I'm taking it out. Yeah, this mixed went, Miranda's mixes always go fast. But we'll leave it up. The recipe is up there, what's in it. And we should have the individual beads back in soon. Okay, so there's my second row of 2. Go back through the beads, stitch it through under the leather. Okay, and push it up. Then I'll do 3. 1, 2, and 3. So this brings the channel in the leather to the same size as the next size beads I'm going to put on. Okay, so we're tapering up, tapering out. Let me get this. Hang on. This is why I like the awl. And you want to make sure with both of these, and I'll show you there's a mistake in my wrap, but I couldn't really go back and fix it, but I'll show you. Okay, so there we go. There are those. So now I went into, I'll show you using the Tila beads right here. We used 2 quarter Tilas and 1/2 Tila. And the thing about the Tila beads is that they all match up, right? 2 quarter Tilas equal 1/2 Tila, 4 quarter Tilas equal 1 full Tila, 2 halves equal 1 full. You get the idea, right? So what we did here was I just started and made the blocks. So we put on 2 quarters, 1/2, and went through. And you can do this layout however you want. You can even introduce more colors. These were the colors that I used in the wrap. But if we've got the Tilas in a bunch of different colors. If you wanted to focus on a different portion of the colorway, more pinks or whatever, you could do that too. Okay, so there's that first one. And then we come in and underneath and we do the second hole. Okay, so we ladder the first thread path, finish that up, and then ladder the second thread path. And so we did that. We went back and forth. So if I wanted it to be opposite, I put this on. Let me make sure. There we go. So I reversed it. And you can see it just goes kind of back and forth like this. Okay. You could also split the quarter Tilas so the quarter Tilas are on the edges and the half is in the middle. Whatever, there are no wrong answers here. Okay, no wrong answers at all. And once we did that, it was time, I thought, well, we got to get those drops in here. And that's when I picked out the 2 colorways of the chartreuse and the purple. So I did a little bit of a palette cleanser with the black seed beads. And I think I went up to 4 because they needed to widen out a little bit. So we'll put on 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we go under. And then I started thinking about, that's when I started thinking about doing the drops. And I thought, well, I want a little bit of space in the drops. So see, here's my row of 4. So I started with 3 drops. And as you can see, the 3 drops, they kind of, you know, since they're drop shaped, they're going to kind of smush together a little bit here. So we put this through, and then we're just going to ladder all the way back through these 3. Now your first row, when you do this, is going to sit a little funny because they're drops. But once you get your second row of drops in there, let me get my awl, don't panic. Once you get your second row in there, everything's going to want to sit okay. So see what happens? One of the drops wants to lean to the back. So I push it to the front so they're all 3 sitting up like this. The next row I'm going to do is a row of green so you can see the contrast. Okay. So, so what I did though, to make these kind of sit correctly, before my next row of drops, I put in a row of 11s and I alternated it back and forth. So a row of 11s, a row of 4 11-aughts, a row of 3 drops, a row of 4 11-aughts, a row of 3 drops. You get those there. Whoops. And you want to make sure, this is where I made my mistake, and I'm going to show you where I made it. And bring that under. Now it's ready for my next row. Push that drop up, that center drop or edge drop. Doesn't want to sit right, but it will once you push that row of 11-aughts where it should go. That was one of the main reasons I did this. Okay, like that, okay? But my mistake was, see here when I was laddering and I didn't notice it, this KO thread went around one of my drops, so I didn't pull it tight. So, and by the time I noticed it, I was way down here and I just couldn't go back. So I'm just going to kind of dip that around if it'll dip. I could also maybe just get a little drop of glue and kind of glue it down between these 2 beads. But I'm not going to worry about it too much. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. So now I'll go in with my row of 3 chartreuse drops. 1, 2, and 3. Ladder those in. Push them up so they sit up. And see this second little drop here, this second row, keeps the first row of drops all together. Okay? Then I ladder back through, and you want to make sure that you catch all of these. So here, here, and here. Pull it through and then go under the leather. Push them up so they are all sitting up, and then I'll put another row, I'll put the chartreuse ones on since they're here. and I put 4. And so then I just keep going with those. Okay. Then I'll ladder for a while. And as I start to run out of thread, because this is a shorter piece of thread, let me put on a couple of rows here. What I do is I'll weave on a new thread so you can see it. It won't take me long. I'm going to do 3 rows, because this is a good part where you're doing the 11/0 right here. When you're adding thread, this is a good place to do it. Since we're not starting and stopping under any macrame, you have to be a little strategic about where you're going to add thread. So let me do a little row here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And under. Push it up. And back. Okay. So let's say that I've done 3 rows here. Okay. And I'm running out of thread. Let me get another color so you can see where the new thread starts and the old thread ends. I'll use a purple thread. Okay. So I'm going to cut another piece of thread, another length, not real long, because again, this is just a little sample. We'll thread that needle. Or needle that thread, as we've learned from Emily. Now, since these are 11/0 beads, okay, we need to, we don't want to like go weave this thread in and then weave this thread out all in the same little section, right? Because these holes are small. So I'm going to start up here with my needle and my new thread. I'm going to go through the top like this. I'm going to hold it right there, and I'm not going to go around the left to the, sorry, I don't know why that cut out. Okay, like this. Then I'll go back here, out that row. I'll dip my thread underneath. And now that thread's locked in. That's not going anywhere. Okay? I'm going to put this thread aside for a second because I'm going to ladder 3 more rows right here. Okay? And then can you guess what I'm going to do after these 3 more rows? Well, I'm going to tell you. And I'm going to cut this off because this is done. That's over. That's in there. It's not going anywhere. What I'm going to do here with these next 3 rows, I'm going to ladder those on. Then I'm going to weave my old thread down those 3 rows and cut it away. Okay? 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this goes through, and then I'll put on my final row. So see there, I've transitioned from that white thread to the purple thread. One last row of these, and then I'll weave the old needle in these rows. And as long as you kind of turn a corner there, you're going to be in good shape. like so. Okay? And pull them both so that they both tighten up. Now let's pick up our old thread. I'm going to pop up between these two rows so I'm not going around the leather, so you don't see a heavier leather going around the outside, though that's not the end of the world either. I'll go all the way through that row, jump down to the next row, all the way through, and to this last row, like this, all the way through. And then I'll cut this off, and that's all done. So my threads are switched. Okay, don't be afraid to switch the threads. Now let's do the offset drops, and then I want to show you how to do the laddering with the bugles. Okay, so let me get some black because it's a little easier to see. And what I did was, I'll try and remember the color order. I did a row, I think I did 2 rows of each color. So I started with a drop, an 11-aught, a drop, and an 11-aught. Okay? Laddered that through. Like that. Sent it back through. Then it naturally makes an offset. So 11-aught, drop, 11-aught, drop. So it sits, it just makes these drops sit a little bit differently. Okay? Pull on those 2 cords to make sure that they're tight and together, and then go back through, catching everybody, catching the 2 drops, catching the 11-aughts, and dipping back down below. And not catching your thread over the drops. It's a lot to pay attention to when laddering with those drops. Then I went to the next color, which was this purpley color. A drop was in the number 1 position, an 11-aught, a drop in the number 3 position, and an 11. And tighten. So see, you can see the colors are really close together, but Miranda did a great job in doing kind of a tonal shift, and I think it really shows up. I think this is like everybody's, well, not everybody's, but this is a favorite part where when we were talking this design over, that we all really thought that we liked this ombre design. And I think putting in 2 rows gives you a clump of color without, so, but it can still be subtle. I think 1 row, the color might not be as saturated as I want it to be. So then we go back to, I think the next one was this blue. I'm not going to do it all, but you see how it's going, right? So a drop in the number 1 position, an 11 in the number 2, a drop in number 3, and an 11-aught in number 4. Go all the way through. And see, there's the tonal shift. And then we offset it. the ombre, I think, adds a lot of movement and vibrancy to this piece. One of those, one of these, one of these. And then it also looks pretty cool on the back. Okay, like that. And then we'll turn it over and we'll look at it. So see how it looks on the back. Okay. So now let's go to the Sarah motif. Here it is right here. So I'm going to ladder with some bugles in between, and then we're going to go to this. Okay. So let's get our bugles out. These are BGL 1s, the 3 millimeters. The BGL 6, you could use it, but the whole thing would, you'd put it all the way across. You couldn't mix it, though I guess you could, but it's twice as long, right? So I think the BGL 1s fit the best, at least for in my eye. Let me put on a plain row of 4 of the 11/aughts just to give myself a little bit of space. Yeah, the drops are great. I think that drops really, whoops, I have to go over the leather. There we go. I think the drops really add a lot of dimension, and they're great for bead embroidery. 100%. Let's lock that in. Let's go here. Now this width, we put on 1 11/aught, 1 bugle, 1 11/aught. Yeah, and thanks, Margaret. The black, I really wanted something that was going to ground this design. And I thought I wanted to go with a darker, I almost went with like a purple or whatever, but in the original source material, in the painting that we took our inspiration from, black really played kind of a nice part in it. So I was like, well, let me just do that. So an 11/aught, a bugle, and 11/aught. Okay, and so I think I did like 6 of these. Do whatever you like. Right. Yeah, matte black would look great too. I almost used matte black, but I didn't. I used the shiny. But the matte would give it a really cool contrast. And that's the 40, the matte would be 401F is what it would be. Okay, so here's this. All right. So now what Sarah did was she put on a bugle. She put on a drop. I'm going to put this one on. And then she put on a bugle. And then laddered it in. And since this bugle section is a little wider, what you do as you come back in, you just ladder it and it'll lift. And I think there are 5 in a row here. So you want to tighten it up so that it doesn't lay flat, so that it lifts. See that that's lifted right there. So let's do another one. Let's get this bugle. I'm not really paying that close of attention to my edges. the edges of my laddering, so they're bubbling a little bit. But again, this is just a sample, so I'm not worrying about it too much. But you really want to make sure if you've got any little extra thread like that, you want to pull it tight. See, then you push this one up next to it so it sits up nice and tall. You want to ladder back through this way, that way, and down, back through the bugle, and under. Okay. Like that. Okay. And I'll do one more. This, one more green. And then you just keep laddering. But that is all of the ladder techniques that are in here. And on the project page, I took photos of everything laid out so you can see the project map. Once this is finished, I'll finish it up and post a fresh project map so you can really see the motifs. But you can see them pretty well in the map right now. But feel free to deviate from the map. So you swing that up to the top. Yeah, it is like a little picot for sure. And see how it just sits up just like that. Really pretty. Okay. So you just continue that on. And so here are all of the techniques. You can see it there on the back, and here they are on the front. So let's go to the wrap itself. And I'm going to kind of swing out a little bit, and let's see how this is going to wrap. Let me wrap it around my wrist so I can kind of see, and then I'll bring my wrist into view. How many wraps? This is a 4 wrap. Yes. Okay, perfect. So here we are, our 4 wraps, and we're coming around, and you can see right here that this is ready. This is ready to go. This is the correct length. What I'm going to do here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm actually going to take out this last little section right there so that we have enough room to taper this down. Okay. So I will attach this to the board right here. I'm going to get my, it's kind of hard to, you know what, I can't see that. Let me see if I can just use my awl. See, I'm going to pull this out. And then I'll give you a finished length after we finish this off. There we go. We're just going to pull that loop out. The needle will go eye and back through the beads so that it doesn't split anything. Take this one out, and there we have it. Okay, so let's taper this down with a 3-2-1 configuration with the 11/0. Okay, so connect this down right there. My thread is here, my cords are here. There we are. All right. So, and I'm just going to do it with the black seed beads, just like I did before at the very beginning. Get in a little tighter here. So this is what we're going to do, and we're going to finish it off with some macrame. So 3, 1, 2, 3, and under. Slide it up, go back through and go underneath. Tighten it up. Now we'll go back to 2, 1, and 2. Tightening it. What do you need, Sarah?
Masking tape.
Masking
I
tape.
don't remember where it is.
I think I have some.
I can use this.
Okay. I have tape.
What's the one right below it?
So there's
Oh,
that.
black tape.
And then we'll go with the single. And that's tapered down. So I can macrame. I've got a little thread bubble there. There we go. Hard to see with the black, right? So now what I'm going to do is, because the macrame that I did at the beginning is doubled, right? I'm going to add another doubled strand, and we're going to macrame with them. So let me get my black KO, because here's one side of my macrame. I don't want to cut the needle off in macrame with just 1 and 1. I want to do it with a double so that they match. Okay? So I'm going to do that. I'm going to bring my other strand around. And we're just going to do it like it was 2 strands, right? This strand is sitting here, that strand is sitting there. I'll make the loop, macrame this up. Slide that knot up, and then tighten everything. And we're going to go back and forth. I'm making the loop with my needle side so I don't have to pass the needle through the loop. And we're just going to macrame that for about 5. Five full square knots. One more. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of GS. Oh, see how it just appeared. I'm going to add a little GS, though I need to clean this tip off here. There we go. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to tighten this one, this last one up, and with the needle, I'm going to slide the end of my macrame up through that macrame I just made, that tail right there. Okay, and we'll clip it. And then I'll add the needle to this side and put this side up and through. I might have to do these one by one. Stitch it just right like in the center. I aim my needle right between the two legs of leather, right there. That's through. I'll cut that away. And I'll send this one through. I could glue and thread burn these, but for KO, I prefer sending the tails underneath the macrame. Come on, the other one threaded so easily. What's the problem here? There we go. Aim it right between the two pieces of leather. Getting a little tight in there. There we go. If you need your pliers to help you pull this through, let me grab them. Oh, it's getting a little crowded underneath that macrame. There we go. So that's it. So now all I'm going to do for the end is I am going to tie a knot. I could come back in and I could macrame it here, but I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna tie. I like a knot sometimes at the end. So that's the width I need. This knot will stretch a little bit. So I'm going to tie the knot. I'm going to test it before I tighten it 100%, and then I'll really tighten it up. Make sure that'll go through. It does. So I'll just go ahead and tighten that knot in. Just like that. I'm going to pull on each of these. I'm going to clip these both at an angle. I could tie a knot, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to angle cut it like this. And let's put it on. Okay. Make sure it doesn't twist, because this definitely has a front and a back, right? Because all of the drops are in, you know, want to be facing up. So there's our 4 wraps. Let's bring it around and let's button it. Sorry, I have to take it out of frame so I can see it. Sorry. Miranda, will you put this on me?
I'll put it on you?
Yeah. It's almost there. I just can't quite. Tanks. There we go. Perfect. So there we have it. There she is. And look at how everything, you know, everything just kind of falls where it wants to fall. Right? Look at how great that little section is right there. And you can recreate this in your color palette, you know, doing a ombre of different drops, but this really does glow. And it fits, this fits perfectly. You need a little bit of extra space because of the drops, you know, have height to them. So you want to make sure that, you know, that there's room. So let me measure this for you. Okay. And again, I could not have done this without Sarah. You would be seeing like 1.5 wraps. Sarah really worked her magic on this. Well, it's true. Let me measure. There's my tape measure. So my wrist, it's about 6.5, maybe 6 and 6. About 6.25, I guess, or so, right? But I like my wraps to be a little, especially when they're multiple wraps, I like them to be a little bit longer. So let's go from the center of the button. Let's go all the way down.
Am I crazy? Are these half Tilas?
And it goes to, yeah, those, are they?
Yeah.
Those have to be, yeah, those have to be tubed, yeah. You can see. So about 27 for the 4 wraps. Okay? And then just enough for the button. So I'll go over the, let me get this. Let me get in a little bit tighter. And we'll look at it. Thanks, Curtis, for that nice comment. It is true. You can do this with a whole bunch of different colorways, right? So let's talk about these repeating motifs real quick. Here's this first right here. This second is this with the drops and the ombre. Then we kind of went to this long repeat with those drops again, that little cluster. Then the bugles, that repeat, there it is with the black drops, and you can see the drops next to one another in this laddered portion. There are 2 of the 11/0, then a drop, 2 11/0, then the drop. So they have a little bit of space to sit next to each other. And then that pattern was just repeated. Can you see? Let me zoom out. So there's that whole repeat right there. And again, you can make it a little longer, a little bit shorter, but this, we started it just as we finished it. And you saw it was 7 of these little tiles. Well, I needed that space to taper down, so I took that out. So it started with 6 and it ended with 6. It ended and started exactly the same way. Like that. And I think it gives it some continuity. So Janice is asking about the number of drops per inch. Let me measure real quick, okay? If this section is, like, let's say this purple section is 1 inch, or this, no, sorry, this whole section right here is 1 inch. So this is 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24. It's about 24 drops per inch with no, just one next to the other like this. Okay. And yeah, I will photograph the project map like that. The project map is good. You can see the motifs, but I want to show it with the closure and everything here. So, so yeah, that's it. So this is a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 wraps. You could certainly go longer. You have enough stuff, but there it is. Yeah, it's a fun one to do. Oh, and thanks. Janice did some of the math on it. 1 tube of drops gives you about 7.5 inches using an 11/aught bead. So that's good. Great. Real pretty. Okay. Well, my friends, that is that for today's show. I hope you love this. A big shout out to Miranda for this fantastic mystic mix, to Emily for figuring out that the black light, that it glows under the black light, and to Sarah for laddering her little heart out while she's been here so that we can have this finished sample. It was a team effort. Team. So thank you so much. On Friday, everybody, mark your calendars. It's already up on the YouTube channel, the reminder. Set yourself a reminder to Friday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific. There's me, there's Danielle, there's Nile. And it is the launch, the pre-sale of Danielle's new box. It's called Saffron and Silk. That's a little hint. You can see it because it's on the YouTube channel. The inspiration photo is there. Nile's box drops that day, his companion bundle. And I have a mystery companion project that Sarah has actually been working on. We've been working on this week. I'm having her catch me up. It is exquisite. All 3 of these, and they all play very well in the sandbox together. So those will all launch on Friday morning at midnight, I guess, Pacific time. I would recommend getting all of these. We're going to do the unboxing on the 28th. We'll start, it's going up for pre-sale, but we're getting our first bundles. They might even be in today. Danielle sent everything out. So they're going to ship out pretty quick. So if you want to be surprised, keep it wrapped. We're going to do the unboxing on the 28th of August, and then we'll show all of the upcoming tutorials. We'll have all of the tutorials scheduled for you. We have our next one already in the hopper, and I think you're gonna love the theme of that one as well. But Saffron and Silk is coming up, and it's coming up on Friday. Sarah Janice says, can't you come back to the bead studio again and again and again? But look, it really does look great, if I do say. So I will see you Friday with our buddies Nile and Danielle. Next week, we're planning and prepping. We leave for the bead retreat. So next Friday, there's going to be no formal free tip, but I do have some fun launches and stuff for you. So don't you worry. We're cruising into August, having a lot of fun. So thank you all for joining us today, and I'll see you on Friday with Nile and Danielle. Subscribe to those newsletters so you don't miss it. There'll be links for that box. It'll also be on the homepage. And don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and notification button right where you're watching right now on YouTube. Like us over on Facebook, Instagram, check out our Pinterest pages, and if you have any questions, reach out to us please at info@beadshop.com. We're always on the other side of the computer. Thanks so much, everybody. I'll see you on Friday.